Hey everybody, I'm Amber.
And I'm Maddie.
And we're Witches Talking Tarot. And today we are talking about shadow work. Not the chalk drawing in your shadow on the sidewalk behind you or nothing, but the shadow work of delving into that which we try to hide from the world and ourselves, and what it means and what it doesn't necessarily mean, and let you guys know it's not big scary stuff. It's actually really good healthy stuff. You think that's a good lead-in?
Absolutely. One of the things I want to address is I feel like a lot of people have this misconception that shadow work is so dark and scary and it's going to take you through this depressive misery. And look, no, it doesn't. And I feel like people latch onto that because it has that dark and scary aesthetic.
I think people latch onto that also because people do find it scary to hold themselves accountable. Accountability is a huge piece of shadow work. It's acknowledgement, which is scary to a lot of people.
I totally get that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so people who've done it, they describe it to others, right? So I've done shadow work and it's not scary to me, but I start talking about accountability to somebody who's not ready to take accountability, and that sounds terrifying to them. Well, and I'm not trying to disagree with what you're saying. I'm just
I get you.
As you say that, I go, oh my gosh, maybe I think this is why people see it that way. But it's not. Maddie's right. It's not that at all. It's just, it's personal accountability.
Well,
it's
and
personal
it can
acknowledgement.
Exactly. It can be a number of things. It can be, let's say you're dealing with, let's say you're a people pleaser. Let's go the lighter route at first because we're just opening it in. You're a people pleaser and you're always saying, I'm sorry. Well, that's something that you're working on. Well, why do you say I'm sorry all the time? Do you know? And that's where the shadow work comes in. You have to figure out why you say that. And then when you understand why you say that, you have to make a point to try not to say that.
But by identifying that you say, I'm sorry unnecessarily all the time, is the first step in shadow work. It's identifying something about yourself. I was saying to Maddie, sometimes in shadow work, you look into yourself and you find a part of your behavior that it seems everybody in your life has a problem with. But you look at why you have that behavior, and there's a reason for it, and it's not even a defense mechanism. It's something that based on your character you find important. You that is important communication to have, even if it makes these other people upset with me. I feel like this is important. That's shadow work, and shadow work is not changing yourself. Okay, sometimes you're gonna look at yourself, you're gonna find a thing, you're going to say, I feel like that should change, and you're going to work on changing it, and that is shadow work. But shadow work is also identifying that which is within ourselves that we try to hide from everybody else, that we're okay with, that we don't want to change about ourselves.
Well,
we don't want to change.
No longer want to hide either.
Exactly, and we bring it to the light. Thank you. That is exactly where I was going
with that.
So
we're diving, we're reaching into the shadows and
pulling things out to the light. We're going to change some things, and we're not going to change everything. Because some things have a base root of, you ask, why do I do this? I do this because I always felt like I wasn't good enough. Well, that's something that we should change. But why do I do this? I do this because to me, that level of communication in this kind of relationship is important. Well, then I don't think that should be changed. Personally, this is a piece of my own personal shadow work. I get told, trust me, I have very enlightened children because they have me as a mother, and they were raised pagan, okay? They were raised on tarot and astrology, and my oldest daughter can name your top 3 just by one sentence of conversation with you, and she can read a birth chart without having to research how to read a birth chart, okay? And my youngest daughter knew about conversations, and still does know about conversations that don't happen around her, okay? And so these people are telling me all the time what's wrong with my personality. And there are aspects of it that I'm okay, this is accurate, I should work on it. But there are also aspects that you might have a problem with, but I don't. I'm looking at the reasons why I do these things, and I find an important reason there. And that is also in shadow work. So to me, that's not scary. To me, it may be difficult.
It comes with
difficult.
the confidence to say, this is why I do these things.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it is a process. So I'm not telling you like right away you're going to be like this, right?
no,
I've been doing shadow work
So
for like
honestly,
a minimum of 10 years.
I feel like the I'm sorry example that we used the first time around is a good starting point, because it does get, I hesitate to use the term darker, but it does get a little more difficult. For example, recognizing when you behave narcissistically. Not that you are a narcissist, but maybe you have some narcissistic traits or something, and you're like, damn, sometimes I put myself first over others, and sometimes that's okay, and sometimes that's not okay. And I don't even realize it, but damn, sometimes I be doing that. I need to work on that. You know what I mean? I feel like that's a darker thing or a deeper thing to work on, because the fact that anybody would admit, hey, do I have some narcissistic traits? Do I act like a narcissist sometimes? I mean, of course, somebody questioning that is definitely not a narcissist, because a narcissist wouldn't be questioning that, but acknowledging that maybe you're a little more selfish, selfish.
Being able to. Shadow work is a mirror.
Maybe
it is a mirror of truth.
Maybe narcissist wasn't the right word. Maybe I should have said selfishness, because there is a difference, you know. But maybe you can be really selfish and you recognize, hey, I can be selfish. So you're going to work on that.
Maybe you can be selfish and you're doing one of those things where you're on TikTok or you're like, oh, 5 questions that let you know what this is about yourself. And you're wondering if you're a narcissist, but really it's just sometimes you're selfish. I think that's a good way to put it. But like also it's, again, it just comes back to that base of being able to look into yourself honestly and at your flaws. But shadow work's not just about your flaws, right? Like I would say, growing up, I was an overachiever. I don't think that was a flaw, right? But looking at why I was an overachiever and what that did for me, that's still a part of shadow work. And it's that part of shadow work where we're looking into ourselves openly and honestly and being honest with ourselves. I was an overachiever because I felt like nothing I did was good enough, because I felt like my sister was just, the apple of my parents' eye, and I was never going to measure up. You know what I mean? So like I did everything the best I possibly could. I did everything I fucking could until I hit high school and I said, fuck this shit. Like I will never hit that mark. Like I'm never going to go to an Ivy League college like my sister did. Like I'm never going to do any of that. And I went left field. I was like, you know what? I am going to take a page out of my brother's book and let's go fuck around and find out. And I did a lot of fucking around and finding out. And again, like the reason that I was an overachiever, not great. Being an overachiever, was that bad for me? I don't think so. I learned a lot of shit by like constantly reading. You know what I mean? Like, but also it's that self-identification.
It's the mentality, it's the mental strain.
Right.
It's the reason why you're doing
it is a bad thing I'm an overachiever, guys. Fuck. See, this is shadow work in real life happening right before your very ears and eyes. It's a bad thing I'm an overachiever, guys. I'm still an overachiever, and it stresses me out constantly.
You want to know why I'm an overachiever?
Fuck! Sorry, I did not expect to have shadow work happen on the shadow work episode. I'm kind of embarrassed.
It's okay. I just realized why.
Lying to everybody.
I feel like I'm an overachiever because I'm a Capricorn. Like, straight up.
I've always said it's because I'm a Virgo, but I know that's not the truth. I say it's the Virgo in me coming
but it
out.
really is the truth in me anyway. Like, it really is my earth sign, guys. I promise. Unless I haven't done enough shadow work. Like,
I don't know. I always was like, I'm a Virgo. That's how Virgos are. We're earth signs. We go. Like, literally,
right.
One of my morning witch videos. Oh, today's morning witch video now when you're listening, it'll be last week's morning witch video. But, I literally said like, oh, the full moon's in Virgo, it's time to get shit done. And as a Virgo, I guarantee you, like, we get shit done. I've always blamed my earth sign for being an overachiever and a workaholic, but really it's, I have a fear that I am not good enough. So how do you prove you're good enough? Well, you fucking strive to achieve. That's how you prove you're good enough to the world. You run a business and you have a small business and then you have a podcast and then you have ambitions beyond that. And then you raise a family on top of it and then you take in everybody else and you just try to prove to the world you're a good person. I mean, literally, this is shadow work unfolding. I cannot think of a better explanation of shadow work. Please save me, Maddie. Please start talking.
I don't know what to say because dead ass what I was going to say is like, I just like to keep busy. You know? Like, I don't know what to say.
Oh, God.
It's not my shadow work awakening. I'm just like, damn, I wish it was that deep for me, if I'm being honest with you. Because, like, I just don't, if I'm sitting down.
Keep looking because I will tell you, I have said these things in the past. I just like to stay busy. I say it to my clients all the time when they're like, oh, what did you do yesterday? And I'm like, this. After I saw you? Yep. After I finished driving, yeah, that's all the stuff I did.
Maybe it is something deeper. Maybe it's because I don't want to appear as lazy.
Yep, and that's all about how people see you and getting over.
Have said things people have said in the past, things people have said, like, I just don't want to be lazy.
Yeah, and that is, you don't want to appear lazy to everybody else, so, you know, that's the baseline of, like, you know,
worrying about what other people
think. Yeah, thank you. I was losing track.
Worrying about what other people have to say.
You know, it's funny. I told Maddie, I was like, I don't plan to get too personal about my own shadow work. I'm going to share a little bit. No, look at us. Look at us just, goddamn, we're this good, guys. We shadow work ourselves in front of you. But then
I also really like being busy, though.
I do too.
Like,
I do, but also it's because if I'm sitting around doing nothing, then everybody's judging me for not doing anything.
Exactly.
I mean, my kid got on to me before the funeral about how I'm always on my phone. And I was like, that's my free time, honey. And I'm trying to make money. Right. I'm pretty sure that's not me just always on my damn phone. Right. Sorry, y'all. But this is real life. And that is what shadow work's all about. And the misconception that it's like scary and that you need somebody to take you through it. Like, I'm sorry. Maybe some people do need somebody to take them through it, but my belief is firm that you do not need anybody to take you through shadow work.
I think I would say I would preach against it, but I don't mean to be offensive.
Right, I don't want to be offensive, but I think it's a personal, it's like so personal. And if you have somebody guiding you, look, perception is reality, guys, okay? Mm-hmm. We all see the world through our own lens, and this is actually like, if you watch my videos on TikTok or Facebook or Instagram, you might actually see this video before you hear this podcast episode because this is a video I'm going to be doing. But it's like, okay, so I've already done one thing about perception as reality, and it's like you see the world through this lens, right? And this lens is coloring every single thing that's coming through it to you and reaching your brain, right? And so, like, not only is this lens coloring all the stuff that's coming to you, it's been colored by all of your life experiences, right? Mm-hmm. And so you can't change the way you view the world until you see why your lens is colored the way it's colored. You can't change the way you see the world. You can't change the way you interact with the world. You have to learn more about yourself. Did I hit my point? I think I hit my point with the whole, like, you know, you got to see where everything comes to make that lens the way it is so that you know why you're seeing the world that way, right? Like, if you see a lighter that's got like a fucked up back end, you might have an automatic assumption about why it's darker on the label. You might not have that automatic assumption. I might have that automatic assumption because my lighter is dark on the back, and there's a reason for it. But my lens of perception is colored by my life experience.
Right. I hear you.
You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Okay.
That makes a lot of sense.
I'm trying not to out myself because it's only legal in our state and a couple others. So.
No, I hear you. That totally makes sense.
But if you get it, you get it. If you know, you know. But like, what are some other misconceptions about shadow work? I know we were just talking about them the other day when we decided
we
this
were,
was a
guys. We
necessary
were like
episode.
bouncing.
Like, we almost did the episode last week instead of our grounding episode because we were just going so hardcore.
I know.
But then like some other stuff came up, and so we were like, oh, we're just gonna stick with the regular and we'll do it next week. Bless you.
Thank you.
But like, okay, so let's go further down the whole. It's a personal journey. Like, if anyone tells you that you can't do shadow work without somebody taking you down that road because it's too difficult or it's too dark or it's too scary, they don't understand shadow work.
Yeah.
Please don't let them guide you. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I guess this is our soapbox moment.
I know, guys. I agree with everything Amber says.
Like, I'm just like, this one is kind of personal to us, but like, if you are being told you need that guide to look into your own self, to look into the mirror honestly, look at the source. Look at why maybe they're I don't know why somebody would tell you that you have to have a guide for shadow work, but I'm just saying, if somebody is telling you have to have a guide into your own shadow, that's ridiculous.
They want
you know
your
what?
money.
Okay, yeah, probably.
Money.
I'm with Maddie because I can't think of any other reason that somebody would tell you that unless they want you to like have some high esteem for them that they think this will give them. But here's the thing: a guide for shadow work. Shadow work is reaching into your own darkness, your own depths of darkness. So literally, you're going to have a guide that you are guiding because they don't know where the fuck to go with your shadow work because their perception of everything they're doing with you is colored by their lens and everything.
So you're going to be guiding the guide.
You're going to be guiding the guide who's also going to be trying to take you left and right when you need to go straight because it's based on their perception and their view of the world. And literally, the only two people in this entire world that have the same life are twins that were raised by the same parents and were never ever separate.
And I just want to say that, like,
just FYI, that is actual truth.
God, I don't even remember what I was going to say.
Do you want me to go back rambling?
Yes, please do.
What was I rambling about? So, like, anybody who's trying to take you down, like, you are the guide into your shadow.
So thank you. So the problem is also with these shadow work guides or whatever is a lot of them aren't qualified to be doing any sort of work in psychology, and shadow work is a lot of work in psychology. It's going into your own psyche and figuring your shit out. And people who claim to be these people when they have no experience at all, they can cause so much chaos in somebody's life. They can feed false memories. That's a big one, feeding false memories.
Yep, that is big.
It's terrifying to the person who's supposedly having these memories when really they're just being fed to them by a scammer who wants their money, who
is looking at everything through their own perceptional lens, which is why they're tainting the color of your memories, because memory is only a small percentage of actual shit, and the rest of it your brain makes up. So if somebody is trying to guide you, and I'm sorry if this isn't where you were going with that.
No, please go ahead.
If somebody's trying to guide you down this road based on what they think you need, they're going to alter your perception of your own memories through guiding you through them. Is that where you were going with that?
No, absolutely. And
that's dangerous.
That is so dangerous.
Now, and we're talking about people who've been untrained. Some people have had training in, like,
psychology, life coaching.
Yeah, exactly. And so these people have less of an ability to fuck you up, but again, you don't need them as a guide. Like, I'm just gonna flat out, I don't want to offend anybody who's like afraid that, and they're like, Amber, Maddie, you guys are bitches. I'm not as strong as you. Yeah, you are. You are.
Agree. Yeah.
You haven't been practicing long. You don't even practice. That doesn't matter. You are literally as strong. You have the same ability that we have to look within yourself. Openly,
you probably have done
honestly, you probably have done it.
And didn't
when you
even
lay
realize
awake at
it.
night and you're sitting there thinking about all those things, Those of you who don't do that, please don't judge me. But when you're laying there awake at night and you're thinking about all those things that you could have done differently, would have done differently, should have done differently,
will do differently
from now on, because you start looking at why you did that. That's shadow work. It's like the epitome of shadow work because it's happening in the shadows.
Right.
Sorry. I'll be here not all week, just twice a week.
Right. I'll be here twice a week.
Twice a week.
But, I mean, many people have been doing shadow work for years and not even realize that's what they're doing or that's what it's even called. Like I said, people hear the word shadow work and they automatically are like, oh my God, I can't do that. I'm terrified. When really they've been doing it this whole time. Like, damn, I'm trying not to say sorry. Boom, shadow work. Damn, I'm trying not to be as selfish as I usually am. Boom, shadow work. You know, you could even, I don't know, maybe that's a stretch, because I was going to say, you could even say trying to drink less coffee could be shadow work in a way.
If you identify that there's some unhealthy root, like it's, oh, I need coffee, or...
It's
like,
an addiction, like a caffeine addiction.
Right, because like, I have given up coffee before. I choose not to.
Right, yeah, I feel that.
Actually, I'm about to choose to try to switch to mushroom coffee, so I actually might be giving up coffee. We'll see. I'll still be having mushroom coffee. You can have dandelion root coffee. It's called tea, but it's the same thing.
Right. They call it coffee for some reason. It's not.
Well, I mean, it's a coffee substitute, but I mean, essentially it's tea. But I've read about it as a coffee substitute, but I like just like chicory is a coffee substitute. Fine, that's cool. I don't want to give up coffee. I might choose to for my own health reasons. Excuse me, like all that little hiccupies you heard there. You know, that happens when I drink coffee, and I did earlier for recording our last episode. So anyway, but shadow work is also recognizing patterns that you are, like cycles that you're playing out, and realizing like, this keeps happening. This keeps happening. I'm behaving this way and it keeps happening. I need to change. That's shadow work. You're self-identifying. You are looking at the reasons why you behave a certain way. You are trying to better your life and yourself. And maybe your generational traumas, like dealing with generational traumas, I would say.
Oh yeah, like we're going to go even deeper before we get off here, which is, so you've done your shadow work. Now let's look at the fam.
That's right.
Maybe your mom treated you a certain way and you realize, hey, grandma kind of treated mom that way too. And that's because great grandma did this. Then we're going deeper into the family shadow work. And it's really fucking hard to break generational curses. People talk about it all the time like it's just I'm doing it. It's the easiest thing in the world, and it's fucking not. We need to do a whole episode on generational curses. I'm realizing.
That's funny, because I was like...
It is a part of shadow work, I think.
It is a part of shadow work.
So, shadow work part 2, generational curses.
I guess so.
The curse. Shadow work part 2, the curse.
Love it. That's funny. But yeah, I mean, like, I feel like there was another misconception about shadow work that we really wanted to clear up.
Well, I just want to say, in the line with the generational curses, which we'll get into in the next episode, or not the next episode, but the next shadow work.
When we cover this, we come back to this topic.
You need to realize I'm repeating a pattern. And I think that is probably one of the most difficult things when it comes to shadow work. Like, damn, I'm turning into my mother. I mean, y'all seen the fucking Breakfast Club when they're sitting around. I'll never be like them.
Oh my God, and you've seen the best car commercials out there? Is it Progressive? That has like, Progressive has Flow?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not Progressive. Is it Nationwide? They have the guy that's like helping you not be your parents once you buy.
Oh my God, that shit was so funny.
Like, those are my favorite commercials.
No, it's only 8 o'clock.
Right? Like when they're like nowhere to sit, too many throw pillows. They have a new one where it's like dude getting on an elevator. He's like teaching the guy how to take the elevator, and he's like, hey buddy, everybody's facing this way. You face this way too. And he's like asking people about stuff. He's like, too much talking. We're doing it again. That was terrible. Like,
dude,
hilarious.
It's so funny.
It is. He's so funny. I love those. But like, there are things like you realize that.
And that's not shadow work. That's just funny.
Yeah,
like,
those commercials are funny.
Yeah.
That's not shadow work. But the identifying patterns that you are carrying out from your parents that you maybe don't want to.
Right.
That's part of fixing generational curses. It's also a part of shadow work because you're identifying a behavior that you have. You're looking at why you have that behavior. Your parents raised you that way.
And maybe
you
even
don't like
why
it, maybe.
I think
Or why they
have it. That's where the and you see it's a generation thing.
Well, and it's like, not just why they have it even, because like maybe they don't have it from before, but if you keep going, it will become a generational curse. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So like even
Stopping
if it's
them
recent, stopping them before
they
get
get started, or stopping them from going any further.
Yeah, like I feel bad because like I've been trying to work on generational curses, right? And then my daughter was talking about she wanted to work on generational curses for my grandmother. And I was like, whoa, back your truck up. Like, that's my job. And I was like, I feel like this is something I need to identify, like why I got so fucking defensive there. Because I did. Part of my shadow work is trying to identify why I'm so defensive. I'm incredibly defensive. I don't know why. I've been working on it for a really, really long time. Both my former boss and my dad have brought it to my attention about a decade or so ago. And I have literally been working on it. I'm much better than I used to be, believe it or not. Maddie knows I can be defensive sometimes. And I promise you, I've been working on this characteristic of mine for over a decade, but it still comes out sometimes. Like I just can't.
Well, I get that. Like I
fully resolve it.
I get that because I feel like I catch myself being that way.
Sorry, YouTube.
Did you say YouTube or YouTube?
I said sorry, YouTube, because I can't stop scratching my
I
nose.
thought you said you do. I was like, bitch.
No, I'm so sorry. No, I said I'm sorry, YouTube, because I literally cannot stop scratching my nose.
It's okay. No, but being defensive is something that I need to work on, and it's because growing up, I didn't have a lot of friends, and I was bullied often, and I won't go too much into my childhood, but it was not the best when it comes to came to school.
Yeah. No, there's a reason I read a lot.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Anyway, so I just, even now as an adult, automatically assume people are going to be shitty, or they are being shitty when they're not. So I come off as defensive. And one of the things, it really upsets me, because one of the things I had thought to myself in high school when I was dealing with shit was, I'm not going to let them turn me into a raging bitch. And I feel like, wow, I have started to become a raging bitch because of past, I hate to use the word trauma, but past incidences or past issues.
Yeah.
And I need to work on that because I don't want to let them affect me and
that's
how
a really
I am
good
as a person.
point.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point though. That's a very good reason for doing shadow work, is when you realize that the world has started turning you into something you don't like. That I think is part of where I started doing my shadow work, is I was realizing I was becoming a person I didn't like very much. And I had to identify where that was coming from and how I could change to be an Amber that I could be proud of. And maybe that goes back to the beginning of this episode where I'm an overachiever who never feels like they're good enough. I don't know. I guess I need to keep identifying. But that's the thing. I may be a little embarrassed that came out on camera the way it did. But at the same time, I'm not ashamed, if that makes sense.
No,
right?
I hear you. I hear you.
I acknowledge that shadow work needs to be done. I acknowledge I have a lot more work to do. Here's the thing with shadow work. If somebody tells you, I did my shadow work, I'm done with it. No.
You're never done with shadow work. You start it and it never ends.
That's right, Maddie's
because
right.
It's something you have to constantly work to be a better person.
You have to constantly
You can never just
willing.
Be a better person.
Right. Well,
then
and not
you're
just
narcissist,
that. But again, part of shadow work is not necessarily changing yourself. It's just being able to personally identify and take accountability for your own behavior.
Yes.
And if you think your behavior is okay and you have reasons for you feel good with it, Like, it doesn't mean you have to change it. But if somebody says they're done doing shadow work, like, that means they're done examining who they are. They're done examining their behavior. We constantly change. Every single day we live changes us.
Well, and before we get off here, I also want to say there's a difference between accountability. There's a difference between acknowledging why you do the things you do and working to change it, and making excuses as to why you do the things that you do.
Yes.
You know, there's a
and that's where
difference.
accountability does come in. Like, you know, like I said, there are certain behaviors that I know people in my life would want me to change, but I'm not going to change. Not necessarily talking about the overachiever thing, but like, this is literally shadow work I've done. I just can't remember what the specific behavior of mine is. Otherwise, I would be honest with you guys here. But it's a thing where, like, people in my life want me to change this, but I don't see a problem with it. And if you have a problem with that about me, well, let's examine why you have a problem with that about me. Like, seriously. And I'm not trying to sound narcissistic or judgmental or anything, but I have examined that behavior about myself. I have examined where it comes from and why I don't see a need to change it. So why do you think I need to change it? Let's talk about that. And it's, you don't like it. Well, why don't you like it? You know what I mean? Like, that's acceptable in shadow work. Like, you don't have to change just because people don't like something about you. Like, there can be valid reasons for a behavior that you exhibit that other people in society maybe don't find so grand. Like, I'm a problem solver, guys. I'm a problem solver. If my kids come to me and they're upset about a thing, my initial want is to fix that problem so that my loved one is no longer in pain. And a lot of people have a problem with that. They're like, you're not listening to me. No, I'm absolutely listening. But I like to try and help people see things from different points of view so that they can see it from a different lens and maybe be less hurt or less bothered by a thing. And that's not me not listening. That's the very opposite. That's me listening and understanding and saying, well, you know, I understand where you're coming from. Maybe this maybe this is where the other person's coming from, and how do you feel about that? And can we deal with the problem, from a different aspect to see if there's a better solution than what you're having a problem with? You know what I mean? And I personally do not think that's a problem. I know people do. I see memes all the time about nobody wants you to help them. Well, I get that. I do. I do get that. That sometimes people just want you to listen. And I do try to listen. But when I've listened to the same thing over and over again, there will come a point where I will be me. And I will try to give you another lens to look at something through. Because obviously, if you are continuing to come back to the same pattern and cycle and having the same problem with the same thing, like, maybe you should look at it a little differently. And I am that friend that's honest. And I say the things people don't necessarily want to hear, but they should hear. And again, in shadow work, I've looked at that. And that's not a behavior I think I should change. I may soften what I say, but I'm not going to lie to you for the sake of your feelings, because that's just going to make everything worse. You know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like there was a point to that. Yeah, just shadow work's not necessarily about changing. It's about identifying and acknowledging and being personally accountable for your behavior. And when you go all the way through it and you still come out and you're like, I feel like this is an okay behavior, that's cool, dudes. Shadow work's not about changing. Shadow work's about identifying, acknowledging, and improving. I think
that's a great way to end this episode, if I'm being honest with you. I think you put it well into words, Amber. I think you summed it up really well.
I would agree. I think that is a great place to end this, because I can't think of anything
And
else.
definitely look forward to our episodes on generational curses.
Yeah,
Shadow work.
yeah.
The curse returns.
Yes, maybe we'll.
Or the curse continues. I like that one.
I like it in conjunction with some ancestral guardian angel shit. Because I was going to pitch that anyway.
Ooh,
so
I like that too.
Thanks, Melissa, for being our patron. We appreciate you so much. If you want to join Melissa as a patron of your favorite witches, you can check us out at patreon.com/witchestalkingtarot.
And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. We're almost to 100 subscribers, guys.
Yes, so
I feel like I keep saying that. Guys, help.
Help us, yeah. I was going to say, don't forget to comment before whatever. And I guess thanks for coming.
Thanks for sitting with us for a spell.